Welcome back, everyone, to another installment of this series. I used to make board games when I was a kid, and I loved it. In a previous episode, I talked about how I made comic books, and I loved that too. And board games were another thing that I was really into, one of my favorite hobbies. I remember there was one game in particular, and it was my main focus. Out of all the games I created, this one was my main focus. And it was simply just called the board game. I did not have a name for it at all. It was simple and easy. And I had friends that would come over and play it. And they'd always be like, "Hey, what's that one game you have? The board game." I'm like, "Oh, that's it. That's the name. It's called the board game." And I think the reason why I love that name so much is because all you had to do was come up to me and be like, "Hey, what's that board game you have?" I know exactly what you're talking about. And sometimes they would not be talking about it. Sometimes they'd be talking about Monopoly or surgery. Or not surgery, but operation. And I would pull out the board game and they'd be like, no, we're good today. We want to play something else. Which, of course, now that I think about it, the fact that I had like a group of friends that played board games with me is kind of cool. Not many people grew up with friends who wanted to play board games with them. I had like six dedicated tabletop friends when I was a kid growing up. And they loved the fact that I created my own board game. They loved that. So the game was pretty simple. I should probably explain this part first before I explain the game itself. I had a point system, which nowadays, especially with the app Finch, there's a lot of people who use a point system, so it's not so unheard of, but back then it was very unheard of. And my point system was pretty easy. Everything I picked up off the ground was worth 1 point. And whenever I wiped the counters down with a paper towel, it was worth 5 points. If I vacuumed, I had to like do it a certain amount of time, and it was worth 100 points. So vacuuming was worth my time, which my parents were like, "No, you already vacuumed. You don't need to vacuum again." I'm like, "You don't understand. I need the points. Let me vacuum." To me, it kind of made cleaning fun, especially when I started studying. I started spending that time that I was studying collecting points per minute of what I was studying. And then when I would read, it was a point per page, and so on and so forth. I had a whole system in place for points. So when I was making this board game, I added the point system to it. It gave me something to spend the points on. Now, of course, I had things like, "Oh yeah, I'd watch a movie and that's worth 15 points." Or, "Oh yeah, I'm going to play video games and every time I die in the video game, it's 10 points. And if I pass the mission, it's 10 points. And if I level up, it's 10 points." Playing video games took a lot of points, is what I'm saying. But the board game was unique to me. Now, the game was simple, alright? It was kind of like a Monopoly style game where you just went around the board in a circle. There was a start, and then I had a monster icon and a card icon. And then if you land on the monster icon, you drew a monster. And whatever that monster is, you fought it. If you defeated the monster, you could either let it die and get the XP or capture it and let it be your pet. And then if you landed on the event card or the card icon, it was just, like Monopoly, like chance. You just landed on it and it's just like, "Oh, well, now you gotta go back 3 spaces." And then you just go back 3 spaces. There wasn't really much on the board as far as like property like Monopoly did. A lot of the board was blank, but it was still a lot of fun. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because lately I have been thinking about making it, remaking my board game. And by doing this, it's going to take a lot of art, which I've been practicing lately. But I think drawing these monsters again is really going to help me with, my art ability. And now that I've played a lot of tabletop games, I could probably upgrade the rules. And I'm gonna definitely do updated videos. I have my reels on YouTube and shorts on Facebook and pretty much everywhere else. And what I do is I make these vlogs that are just a minute. Sometimes I'll review something, or sometimes I'll show off what's going on outside, and I will post it literally everywhere. It's the same video. It gets boring doing the same video everywhere, but there's people who have not seen those videos, and they don't necessarily want to come to my YouTube channel, so they appreciate that I share that on Facebook and on TikTok and on definitely not on Instagram. I have not been on Instagram in a long time, but Facebook and TikTok for sure. And I think this would be kind of fun content for me to film my updates of my board game and showing all the different things that I'll be adding to it, because I don't want to just make this game like it was before. I want to keep adding to it. I have this idea where I take like plywood and I make sort of like a box out of it, sort of like Jumanji in a way. Which, by the way, the inspiration to this board game back in the day was of Jumanji. I wanted to make an interactive board game that I want to keep saying infected. What the hell? Like it interacted with you in real life, and things that you do in life affected the board game. That was like the whole concept. But I want to like add lights, like little tiny, flickering lights that look like fireflies, and add sound effects, and add, a printed matting on the board itself to add effects. There's so much I want to invest in this board game. And will there be a name? No, there will not. No. I think it's funny keeping the name as the board game, honestly. It's like the game, which, sorry that I just did that to everyone who's still playing the game in 2026. But you just lost. So, sorry about that. Not really. But I am sorry. But not really. And the board game was, naming it that was definitely, sort of like the game situation. I have so many ideas that I want to add to this. And I honestly, I do feel like there's a lot that I can take away and a lot that I can put in. One of the things that I'm most excited about is all of the different creatures that I now know of. Back then, the creatures I was drawing were things that I was scared of. Sometimes I'd be scared of the monster under the bed, so I'd draw a creature that was the monster under the bed. Or sometimes I would be scared of, like one time, there was a Christmas tree, and I thought I saw red eyes inside the Christmas tree, and I thought that the Christmas tree was alive. It scared the bejesus out of me. So I drew a Christmas tree monster. And it was kind of therapeutic in a way, because I would have my hero go around the board killing these monsters that I was legitimately scared of growing up. These were like my actual fears. And I don't know, a part of me putting it on paper and kind of like seeing how goofy it looked, because I was very bad at artwork, but seeing how ridiculous those monsters actually looked kind of took the fear out of it a little bit. Like, I kind of put a face to the fear, and I was like, oh, that's actually kind of goofy looking, to be honest. And by doing that, it definitely helped me, which is a good thing. It is. But now, I don't know. I feel like I could do much better now. I have a much wider selection of things I can make. What was cool about this game is that you can make anything. And that freedom of being creative in a game that could be played by one person instead of needing someone to play with, you could just play by yourself, was awesome. That was so cool. that's that's definitely something I'm looking forward to again. The whole project I'm looking forward to. Making update videos of what I'm working on with it is going to be really fun. And I'm really excited to bring everyone along on this journey as I get back into making board games again. But that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you for listening.